I mean, they only pay $8,000 for development charges in North Bay. So I'm wondering how they can do all that stuff, but yet we have to charge almost 2 and a bit times that amount. The other concern I have is, Mr. Riva mentioned the Ring of Fire is a sure thing. CBC publicized the other day from Clifton Hills saying they want out. So if they want out, how can that be a sure thing for us?
Okay, thank you. Second question, Andre, you will get the floor first. So the question is, based on the services that are currently being provided, what are the strategies you would implement to increase the value of our tax dollar? So, Andre, then Bernard.
All right, thank you for the question. About 5 years ago, we have implemented an Office of the Auditor General in order to find efficiencies, and we have had some. We have had a certain amount of efficiencies. We, generally speaking, I'm talking quick, all right? We have agreed to go for one department, find the best you can, and we'll move on to another one until hopefully we find something that we can see with good auditing principles. So that on its own, that was the goal, to bring the value of our tax dollar, the better value of our tax dollar. Now there's another thing which I just happen to agree with one candidate that has frontline workers do go a long, long way. I have worked lots with, especially the Howard Armstrong Recreation Center. Those that administer the service see where the problems are way better than their managers, because they're not there. They tell you exactly how you can better these services. And hence, that's how we got our expansion of the Howard Armstrong Recreation Center, the equipment outside. I can't be held fully responsible for the whole thing, but I was a big player in a lot of them. The weight rooms and the exercise rooms, there was money to be made. And yet again, at a low cost for you and I. That center is the one that is running at the most efficient in Greater Sudbury by far. You know, it is the best one. It's not breaking even yet, but we're close. We're very close, and that's the truth. Honest goodness truth. And there is one thing you just recently, canine control has doubled the price. We don't want that. That's not presenting an efficient value for a tax dollar. So although we don't know the final result to do it ourselves, we are looking at putting it to us instead of contracting
Based on the services that we are currently provided, what are the strategies you would implement to increase the value of our tax dollars? As I've been campaigning through Ward 6 handling Valley, these are some of the ideas that the people have told me. And these are the ideas that I'm putting forward here tonight. Improve the snow plowing of our streets and sidewalks. It's been a real mess. Improve the maintenance of the roads. I'm sure I don't have to go into that. We all know what that's happening. Eliminate the fees at our landfill sites. $400,000. Where are we going to get the money to replace that? If I started here tonight and named ways where we can find that money, we'd be here till tomorrow morning. Another main issue is here, improve the bus scheduling to be more accommodating for the residents of the valley. During the week, it's not bad. I have a stepson that goes to Collège Boréal. At night, when he has a night class, he has to wait 2.5 hours to take a bus to come back home. After being at school all day long and having to wait for 2.5 hours at night before he comes home and do homework and get back to school the next day, unacceptable. Sundays, unreal. We have a bus challenge this weekend. I will be taking the bus at 10:51 Sunday morning to go to the bus station, and I have to come back. That will take me 5 hours. Not acceptable. These are some of the issues. Thank you.
Some of the strategies that I would like to implement. I'd like to look at modernizing and streamlining our purchasing department. prevent individual departments from purchasing individually all on their own, and introduce bulk purchasing. So the same products that are bought amongst 10 departments have one purchase for that entire same product. I would also like to look to purchase better software, which would keep track of accounts payable, overdue accounts, but also included in the background, it would be a tracking system of who accessed the account, when, what time, and access numbers, but also who authorized what, or who authorized continued services to a company who owes a corporation, let's say, over $500,000 in bus tickets. I'd like to streamline the payroll system. Some departments work on 2 weeks back pay. Others are actual time work. But the overtime is paid 2 weeks back. Some departments have a swipe card system that is mandatory to work. Others is voluntary. Other departments actually refuse to use it. Part-time staff, casual staff, they're on a different pay period than everybody else. If we could streamline everything to have everything together, those efficiencies would definitely save us money. The greater city of Sudbury needs to keep up with the times technology-wise. Although the website for the city is smartphone and tablet friendly, we need to create apps. An app that helps people, such as having an app for the bus schedule so people can look at it quickly, and such as an app to meet up with council meetings, times, locations, find the minutes of past and maybe future meetings. Also, getting department managers to assess the purchase of one type of software of what they need, instead of running 3, 4, and 5 different types of softwares. And this could really streamline and maximize IT. Thank you.
So, strategies we can implement to expand tax dollars. Basically, how do we stretch the budget and get more for what we pay for? First way, when it comes to roads, everybody says we got to get a better deal on roads, we got to get a better deal on roads. Well, here are 2 ways in which we can. Most municipalities expect a minimum of a 2 or 3 year warranty on roadworks done. Many of our roadworks projects only get a 1-year guarantee. By extending the guarantee, the contractor is going to give us what we pay for. And a road that's built better from the start is going to cost us less in maintenance as we go forward. Now, we all live in the valley, we all know what our normal side roads are like, but how come they pave one road 1 year, the next year they pave the next one? Come back in 10 years, one road is fine, the other road is destroyed. Clearly, sometimes the asphalt is not being mixed properly. Now, I don't know personally what the exact right mix of tar and rocks, and I don't know what the mix is, but the ministry does. There are people who do, and we need to make sure we are getting the right mix of asphalt. If we build the roads right the first time, we are going to spend so much less money patchworking. Right now, we spend $50 million a year, almost 10% of the budget, just keeping the roads together with coal patch and pothole filling. Almost 10% of the budget on potholes. That is unacceptable to me. Another way we can save money is with improving staff management relations. I don't know if any of you happen to know people who work for the city. I know many, and none of them are happy. The city is not a good employer, and an unhappy employee is one that is costly for us. A productive employee, a happy employee will stretch the budget. I'll just give you a quick example. We've been to the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal as an employer and lost. Been found guilty of abusing our staff's basic human rights. I know a diabetic man who was written up for refusing to skip his lunch. When your employer says you have to skip your lunch break, and you say, no, I'm diabetic, I have to eat on a schedule, and you get written up, how hard are you going to work? Thank you.
I'll open the floor for rebuttals, starting with on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, the issue of roads, we're not there yet. But we've been working on this for a very, very long time. You all know, and I'm smiling when I say this, you all know when I got to council in 2008 that I was just about pounding on a table, road repairs, road repairs. When we got so tired, I wore them down. And you know that, I know you do. So we've been doing a lot of road work since it is today. The Northern Life gave an article last week, and it says road work shutting down various lanes. Out of 6 projects, 5 happen to be in Valley East. We are getting way more than what we used to. Remember when we all had that petition signed for de-amalgamation because we weren't getting our services? No outside municipality were getting the services that they rightfully deserve. Should I say the name? The Councillor of Ward 2, 3, and myself got together and we got a petition of over 11,000 people. This is the result. You have to work with us too.
Road work. Go on Dominion Drive 3 weeks ago. They paved it. The week after, they tore it up. You have to put new culverts in, they forgot. Is that the kind of road work that we want? That is why we're wasting a lot of money. That's because there's no supervision, there is something terribly wrong, and council can't get their handle on it. We talked about the Auditor General. I would be ashamed to talk about the Auditor General's office here today with what has happened. Animal control contract, the council had 2 years to come up with a decent deal and proposal for them. About a month ago, when the contract came up to City Hall, it took them 1 hour and 10 minutes to not be able to agree. So it was 1 year, it was 2 years. Finally, well, we'll go 2 years because we don't know what to do. That contract is going to be extremely, extremely expensive for our city.
I just have to say I'm surprised that I heard somebody suggest we get our fair share of the services in the valley. Yes, they're starting to do road work finally. 15 years of ignoring us, they listened on roads in the last 2 years. Okay, what about busing? 703 and 704 are the only 2 routes we have. We are a population almost the size of New Sudbury. But to get a bus into town, they get one every 15 minutes. Ours come every 2 or 3 hours. And we're not even asking for one every 15 minutes. We're asking like once an hour, please. That is not too much. We are not getting the fair services for our tax dollars, and I know no one in Belcarron or that denies Hammer, no one who thinks we get a fair share for what we pay in our taxes. Thank you.
Okay, question number 3. What is the most important issue you see in your ward? I believe that man, you have the floor first.
During my campaign, there are 2 issues in our ward which are equal. Control of tax increases in spending and road maintenance. And I don't have to go in much more detail than that. We all know what they are.
Well, I as well think that it was a tie between 2 things. The roads, but the other thing that people are talking to me about is the update and maintenance of the Howard Armstrong and Centennial Arena. In our wards, we don't have many family-friendly facilities, and to see these gems of ours falling apart is quite alarming. Although some money has been put into repairs of these facilities, both buildings are aging quickly, and they need a major overhaul to make sure they last us another 30 or 40 years. Our infrastructure is generally very, very old, with minimal updates being done, and this has to be corrected. I'll bring forward a plan to have roads fixed properly and effectively. No more patching after patching after patching after patching. I could go on with that forever because that seems to be what we do. But if this plan, I would also have a priority sequence based on current condition of the roads, the usage, making sure the Department of Planning is exactly on line with what we do. So what we mentioned a while ago, Dominion Drive was gorgeous. I drove my daughter to work, and then on my way back, I had a huge rut because the guys were putting in a culvert. Just didn't understand, and when I asked the gentleman, I said, well, he says, well, that's our job, not the paving guys, because the paving guys will be back later. I don't understand how that works, but I want to streamline that so that that doesn't happen again. And then the last part is I want to mandate into our tenders that the crews that fix the roads or pave the roads give us a 5-year warranty. So that way the tax dollars, when they have to come back and fix them, it doesn't cost us anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the central problem here in Ward 6, we touched on a little bit in the last problem, is the thing of metrocentrism, which that is known as all Sudbury all the time, and we don't get representation at the table. At the door, every house tells me transit's a problem. Every house. Transit is a huge problem out here. Our arenas are not upkept. The Sunnyside subdivision has a little park next door. It's where I grew up. It's where I moved away from, just over here in Belfairns. Just moved away from there about 3 years ago. This year, the grass was 3.5 feet tall before the Valley Depot could find a lawnmower to go and cut the grass. That, to me, is utterly unacceptable. We're not maintaining our parks. We're not maintaining our arenas. But they're going to try to find $23.5 million to remove the S-curve from the Kingsway. $23.5 million, so when you're driving down the Kingsway, you don't have to go, whoop, whoop. But I can't get the grass cut at the park, by my stepfather says. Our arenas are falling apart. That, to me, makes no sense. We don't have accurate representation for we in the outlying areas at council table. We don't. And where the money gets spent is generally foolish. That is a big issue here in Ward 6. Our facilities go ignored. If I were your counselor, council would not ignore us. Thank you.
All right, you have told me that your top priority happens to be roads. The issue of busing is important, but you told me to work on roads most definitely. This is still our top priority that we're trying to do, and what I got from you in the last several months when I was preparing an update on our board priorities, you said, Andre, now we're up to our subdivisions. You should start doing our subdivisions and the drainage of that area. The ditching are full. We've had some recent rainfalls, and the water's not going anywhere. I know that. I know that. It's been a problem for a long time. I've been trying to get council to put money into that area, but they only want to, like us, only want to put it to taxes to a certain height. I think we have enough to finish our plan, and this flyer you're going to be receiving after tonight's debate, I was waiting to make everything public before I'm sending it out, but you're going to get that, and one of the top priorities is more road work, especially in our subdivisions, and the drainage. That's certainly one of the biggest things. Now, the other area that I have addressed council is the issue of snowplowing. It's not working. I know it's not working. I've been doing snowplowing for many years, but you have to understand, you're not alone there. You got 12 other people to convince. You have to convince at least 7, and if you don't, you got to do it in the right way. You know, you can't do it in a bully way. You're not going to get anything. You have to work with them, and they want issues too. So you have to be a good negotiator and get the best you can for your area. So this issue of no representation, well, no, you got to, everybody wants a piece of the pie, and you have to do it. As long as we get the fair share of the piece of the pie. And road work is being done. I know sometimes there's some issues with the planning of it. I did get one road at 1.35 kilometers, and it was supposed to be 1.5, and I got that. I went to see staff. You're not giving us what we pay for, and now we're getting it, and that's the mini grave. I watched for it, and I got it.
Rebuttal, back to Vanessa.
Howard Armstrong increased fees. It was that council that recommended to raise them at an astronomical numbers, almost 200 and somewhere 300% increases. The only thing that stopped them was because there was the people mounted together and called for a special meeting. We had to pack all the Armstrong Center. That's the only time council reconsidered these fees. That's how we have to work right now with this council. We talked about the roads, the ditches being filled out. Well, maybe it's time we look at the debenture plan. Being in finance all my life, it can work. And nobody suggested 40 years. It could be 5 years, 10 years, 15-year debentures. We can get it done.
You say the ditches are full, and sometimes I wonder, because when I look at the streets, all my water are in the potholes. So, the concern I have with digging out ditches, and I've talked to a few of my residents, is that they're digging them so deep and so steep that our seniors that have homes can no longer cut the grass. They can't get a lawnmower in there because it's too deep. And then the city doesn't go back to cut them. The ditches get full, the mosquitoes get in there, and then everything gets, and we get a lot of complaints towards that. So I'm not convinced that that whole process versus the roads in general, starting off at that point.
The Howard Armstrong Recreation Center, do you remember when the walls were falling apart? And I went to council and I said, well, what, did we just let it fall? You can't continue that. And we had a Build Ontario or a Build Canada fund that we could all apply for. One of the projects we put in there out of 5, pardon me, not 4, 5, was, hey, you gotta put the Howard Armstrong Rec Center. We did the whole walls, the whole darn thing. We had $2.1 million for it. So that one is not in debilitated state. It's making money. I wanted to continue making money. And I led that money maker. I did. Nobody else did either. As far as the increase in the Howard Armstrong Recreation Center, it was I and Councillor Dupree that flagged it at council. We're not letting that go through. The people didn't know when that was happening. We brought to that meeting and we stopped it. Until this day, it's not there and it's not going to happen. Not this way.
And the fourth question to all candidates, given the proposed budget of a 4.9% increase in taxes for the coming year, what actions would you suggest be taken? Starting with Renee.
Proposed 4.9% tax increase, it's way too high. The house taxes are just crazy. I can barely afford my own house as it is. I personally would not be in favor of anything greater than the inflation rate. I believe we need to look at ways to wisely spend our money, and that could be a tax saving. The taxpayers pay enough already, and they also pay the increases in all the other services, with water and sewers and hydro. 4.9, not sustainable. There's only one taxpayer funding multiple levels of important public service, and taxpayers are fast approaching the breaking point. Thanks.
I absolutely concur. The tax rate is too high, and I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it's fair. It's almost 5% again on our backs. Some ways we can cut from that tax increase right off the top. Talked about the Kingsway Escrow project earlier. There's another idea for a $5 million roof for the Grace Hartman Amphitheater. There's a lot of these luxury projects that we just can't afford. We are not in a position right now to have luxury. What we need is necessity. So if we stop that needless spending, we can redirect some, because some of that money's already been put aside. We can redirect that money to other services. That will help. A big problem, and it's not just at Tom Davies Square, it's throughout the public sector, is the people who spend budgets have the idea that I have to spend every penny, because if I don't, the money's not there next year. And often that's the case. I've been proposing that we bring forward a motion that we're not going to cut any department's budget based solely on a 1 or 2 year surplus. And we need to create measures that will incentivize the people who spend the budgets to save. Because as long as there's spend, there's always going to be waste. Better road guarantees, as I was talking about earlier, and of course dealing with our huge staff management relations problem at Tom Davies Square. Over time, all of these things will save us money, and we'll have some savings in the coming year, 2015, but I think if we implement these measures, it'll get even better for 2016 and 2017 and 2018. We need to totally change direction at Tom Davies Square, and hopefully in 4 or 5 years we'll actually be in a place to freeze taxes. Another issue that's come up in this election, and I think it's a great idea, is the idea of actually financing some of our road projects. I know a lot of people get very scared when we talk about going into debt. Now, it's got to be reasonable debt and over the life of the project. But the point is, you use a road for 25 years, and they expect right now, you have to pay it all right now. Well, why can't we pay it off over 20 years? There are lots of ways in which we could streamline savings and find efficiencies at Tom Davis Square. Thank you.
I don't think you're going to get any disagreement among any one of us candidates. 4.9% is quite substantial. I too will not be supporting this. The maximum that I can sustain is if we have to go, is the inflationary rate. And that just guarantees the present level of service. There's no enhancement, there's no extra dollars in road repairs, but you do have what's there now, and it's not bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. We're starting to, you're starting to see it happen. You are. Look at the LaSalle intersection. That's all of us. You know, look at Val Karen. That's all of us too. Here, in Dunedin Drive, in Notre Dame Avenue,